Hello guys. Welcome to Diablo the Primordial. This video is the continuation video after Veldora's grand entry. So if you have not watched it, then please watch it. The link is in the description. And please check out my second channel Top Anime Sensei for the light novel of Tensura. So without any further delay, let's start. But before we start, please like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss the updates. Xian, you were able to move even in the stopped world. Envy seems to have disappeared. I see. Veldora noticed something and stopped talking. Veldora-sama. That person is my prey. Would you hand over him to me? Xian asked Veldora while panting, using her sword as a cane to stand. Veldora looked at her while squinting his eyes. I see, very well. I will lend you a bit of my power. Fight well to your heart's content. He responded so. Thank you very much. Xian seemed ready to fall, so Veldora supported her. And, from where Veldora touched Xian, his energy flowed. Although I had said that I would lend it to you, there is no fragment of restraint from you. Perhaps, I should collect it later from Rimuru. Veldora grumbled, looking worn out while Xian's complexion improved fast. The wounds on her body healed, even her clothes, before anyone aware, had become as good as new. Dagruel raised one of his brow, tolerating it, standing silently waiting for Xian's preparation to complete. Then, individual. Xian undergo ability evolution, ultimate skill Tyrannous Lord Susanoo was acquired. Unchanged by even the stopped world, the voice of the world was heard. It was the moment when Xian had awoken ultimate power. I have kept you waiting. However, as you hoped for, I shall give you some amusement. Fumu. Well then, I shall accept your offer. The two nod to the other gladly and once again confront each other. In the stopped world where it was difficult to perceive the opponent's presence, the fight between Xian and Dagruel begun. Meanwhile, by any chance, is my turn only? Veldora was anxious about such thing, there was no one who noticed it. Xian's innermost thoughts were swirling in fury. She was angry at having been toyed with by Dagruel, as though she stood no chance whatsoever. Her feelings of powerlessness and dismay, and her yearning towards the strong. She acknowledges all of these emotions, except envy, which has swelled up, and restrains her remaining emotions. This was unlike her past rampaging self, who simply faced her opposition with all her hatred, seeing them only as her enemy. She was now observing with her soul. Is it good or is it bad? That itself is not the point. What really important is whether she can suppress it or not. These swirling emotions within her were but a hindrance to Xian. But, the thorn of envy, which was supposed to have disappeared, interferes with her thoughts regardless, as though stabbing at her heart. Xian has always thought of being the number one most important existence to Demon Lord Rimuru. But, that is simply self-conceit. But it was also because she understood this emotion all too well, that it was so difficult to extinguish her envy towards other beings that were stronger than herself or showed greater promise. But even so, Xian has put into practice the act of accepting things for what they are. As per Rimuru's words, it is the concept of seeing the true nature of everything with your soul. As a result, though it didn't cause any drastic changes, Xian's true nature underwent a placid change. She now fully understands her own strength that is not swayed by her emotions, her own true worth. With the exception of the thorn of envy, all of Xian's remaining thoughts are now clearly unified. It was a mental change, not a physical one. Xian's evolution was occurring in a manner not visible to others. The battle with Dagruel began. Her soul understood right after that, just how unfathomable and overpowering Dagruel really was. When they first met, she never did notice that hidden under his unassuming appearance lied a furious raging soul. It can also be said that seeing her ideal, the ultimate complete form that she pursued, gave Xian the shivers. If she was to think about it calmly, the fact that the difference in power between herself and Dagruel was decisive, it was all too obvious that this wasn't a matter where she was able to stand against him or not. But, even so, the word retreat does not exist in Xian's dictionary. Rimuru's strategy is flawless, that is how it must be. What that means is that so long as there are no further orders, she has no reason to fall back. That was what Xian thought. Purely believing in Rimuru, following her orders to the letter. In a sense, one could say she has stopped thinking. But, to Xian, Rimuru's orders are absolute and is the only thing that mattered to her. That person won't blindly give orders without some form of insurance elsewhere. Then, until further orders are given, all I need is to do what I was ordered to. This was why Xian shows no fear in the face of death, and holds the lines with the resolve of not retreating. Rumina's cooperation was mostly unexpected. The prideful vampire princess vehemently hated putting herself at risk. With as much wisdom she had, she more than understood how impossible victory is at this point. Xian thought that Rumina should have already fled from this battlefield, if she already knew that much. This is really unexpected. If I was alone, I should have been taken out of the picture long ago. Demon Lord Rumina's is my impression of her mistaken. Maybe that's also. Such idle thoughts surfaced briefly, but Xian quickly shoved that to the back of her head. Xian doesn't have the elbow room for such thoughts, she fully understood that. At any rate, now that she has crossed swords with him, she could tell that Dagruel still has something up his sleeves. If he were to really get serious, she would be swallowed up by that power all too easily. That was what it felt like to Xian. If so, her objective would be to resist as much as she possibly could, so as to properly understand the true essence of that power. With that firm resolve, Xian has continuously took to the challenge in an almost reckless manner. Against Dagruel, whose essence was similar to her own. Xian brandishes her blade, to carve into her own soul the form she pursues, which she sees in Dagruel. And so, the cycle repeats as Rumina revives her. The world's time stopped. Before Xian's consciousness, lied a world without color. Not yet. It's not over yet. She tried to open her mouth with the intention to roar out as such, but Xian's body showed no response. Her body was stopped where she was unable to stand up. Rather, she was unable to even open her mouth. As this happened, the thorn of envy, which has been a nuisance to Xian's emotions for the longest time, the root that was lodged in her heart which caused all her emotional problems, it felt as though it just went and disappeared. At the same time, White Frost Dragon, Velzard awakened the ultimate skill envious Lord Leviathan, but this was not something Xian knows of, and it wasn't something she would care about either. The important thing was that the emotion that was hindering her is gone now, that was all. As expected of Rimuru-sama, to have even foresaw this happening. This was but Xian jumping to conclusions, but it was the truth to Xian. Elation and yearning filled Xian's heart, and what felt like an unbelievable amount of power welled out from within. Pure unbridled violence. The power to destroy. Irrelevant to good and evil, the tyrant's power. Individual. Xian undergo ability evolution, ultimate skill Tyrannous Lord Susanoo was acquired. The voice of the world resounded. Shortly after, Xian's consciousness returned. She was in the colorless world still, but she has no problems with her cognizance. In place of sound, an individual's will is transmitted directly, which meant that words are not needed. In this frozen world, which is governed by its own set of special rules, Xian started to adapt immediately. Ultimate skill Tyrannous Lord Susanoo made that possible. The foundations of her skill evolution were more than sufficient. Much appreciated, Rimuru-sama. That was CL's handiwork, with her foresight of Xian's evolution. Even though she has only just obtained ultimate skilled Tyrannous Lord Susanoo, it easily became fully optimized, and was fitted onto Xian. For Xian, who has constantly been evolving her mental state, controlling this boisterous energy was all too easy. In fact, it was because this was possible, that she awakened to this ability. Mind over body. Thus, with the evolution of her mind, it also triggered Xian's racial awakening. She is now a combat spirit Oni, high-ranked divine monster spirit, a being which specializes in physical combat. A spiritual entity that can infinitely regenerate its physical body, but has attacks that are capable of destroying the opposition's soul. Xian has evolved into what can be called the natural enemy of spiritual lifeforms, energy creature. She makes use of the energy borrowed from Veldora, to compensate for what she could not make up for herself. And, once again, Xian recreates her own body, into a body that is optimized and purely made for combat. She notices at this moment, that she has been unconsciously borrowing power from Veldora. Her consciousness, which felt like it was mostly instinctual and roaming within a fog, now felt refreshed as though under a clear blue sky. Xian has now fully awakened. Xian takes her stance, with her beloved katana, true Hercules' edge. I have kept you waiting. However, as you hoped for, I shall give you some amusement. She speaks to Dagruel, in a polite manner. In this frozen world, Dagruel and Xian's true battle begins. A flash of blades crossing. That was but a metaphor, as such phenomena do not happen in this world without light. But this was the only appropriate way to describe what was happening, as Xian swings assault Dagruel. Hardening his body beyond the hardness of diamonds, Dagruel receives the attack with his 2 arms. But, due to taking the impact from the katana swung from an overhead stance, both of Dagruel's knees sunk into the ground. Dagruel opened his eyes wide. In this stopped world, the air won't get vibrated. As there is no medium now, energy transmissions do not happen. It is now a situation where one would need to push their way through the molecules with their own bodies. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you guys have not watched my earlier videos, then please watch them. The links are in the description. And please check out my other channel Top Anime Sensei for the light novel of Tensura. And don't forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss the updates.